I'm curious who Gensel's going to end up with, because we see the Edmonton Oilers today making their trade for Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick. Oilers seem done after that. Like, I don't think the Oilers are going to go out and get Jake Gensel. On top of that, the Florida Panthers go out and get Vladimir Tarasenko for a couple mid-round picks. That's the one I want to start with. Did the price tag at all surprise you there? Because to me, it kind of seems like there might be a market deficiency with kind of those middle six wingers rather than those bona fide top six wingers, where we're hearing reports that a guy like Jake Gensel might be a little bit too expensive for teams' liking.
Well, I mean, the thing with Gensel at the same time is like that cap hit is difficult for a lot of teams. Obviously, it's difficult for the Canucks. Maybe the most difficult for the Canucks. I think that's where the price kind of comes in. It's like, what can you bear? Like, what can you bring in? I'll put right off the top. I'm very skeptical that happens here. Obviously, I talked to Jim Rutherford this morning. He's not going to talk names, but the point that he made to me being that, in general, in the past, his idea is to take your big swing early. That stuck with me. But yeah, in terms of, you never say never. And as Jim said himself, you don't make predictions because you never know what the last 6 to 12 hours before the deadline are going to look like. Even with the big deals happening today, stuff's in motion and things can change, and we'll see what happens. I'm just not sure because, like you said, the price is there. Pittsburgh's going to hold firm. I mean, they're going to look and say, okay, listen, Vlad Tarasenko wanted to pretty clearly go one place. Like, he didn't want to go to Edmonton. He didn't want to go anywhere else. His family is in Fort Lauderdale. In the end, Florida's like, great, here's what we'll offer you.
Yeah.
A guy like Jake Gensel is going to be like, I want to go play for a winning team. I want to go win a Stanley Cup. Where's that going to lead to him? And that changes the dynamic of the whole thing.
Unfortunately, Frank Saravalli also reported today that Sidney Crosby is going to sign an extension in Pittsburgh. Could be one of those deals that happens kind of on July 1st as soon as they're able to. The dream might be dead, but not yet. The dream is not dead yet. Trade deadline still has to happen. So, hey, maybe
it's like the Sedin situation. Like, realistically, are you going to come and say, like, we're going to send you somewhere else so you can do us a favor? I mean, I get it. Like, there is that notion maybe you would do it, but I think if you sit the kid, you're saying, listen, I've had a pretty good career. I've won the Stanley Cup several times. I'm not chasing that same dream. He wants to play in the Olympics, it sounds like. The equation for him is just different.
It is different. But like we said on the other show, you weren't here for
Real
that.
talk.
But
Real talk.
One thing I'm hoping Sidney considers is that he hasn't met me, and I haven't gotten to cover him in my career, and I'd really like to.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I keep
was
bringing
that the
up.
key with Petey? Is that why Petey stayed?
That's exactly it. He wanted to. He knew that if he went somewhere else, nobody would ask him about a stick flex like I do.
Stick flex.
Talk about Call of Duty.
Zoomer questions.
Yeah, Call of Duty, FIFA.
Yeah. You have that on me.
That's right.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. Was there more trades? There was more that I wanted to get to. I should have them up.
Dave.
Well, I know. It's just such a busy.
There's been a lot going on.
It has. It's been such a busy week, and I mean, look, like obviously today's very busy, and I think the main one that I don't even call it the main one because obviously Mantha. There was Mantha yesterday after we went off air. That one, the Vegas Golden Knights get Anthony Mantha from the Washington Capitals for a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick. Again, one of those kind of middle 6 guys, but a guy that's capable of producing in the playoffs and scoring 20 plus goals in the regular season.
A guy that I found him really interesting. Real upside pickup. Like, he's not going to hurt you, and maybe he actually becomes really good for you. And so I was surprised a little bit that really. I mean, I think of that 4th round pick as so. There's not a lot of value in those picks anymore. So it's really for like a 2nd round pick.
Yes.
And that's the thing. I guess, I mean, you're getting Vegas's 2nd round pick, which is going to be like 60, 58, which is pretty good, but it's not like it's sort of top end of the round. So I was a bit surprised that was the price, but
I look at that as a comparable for Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah,
personally.
I think that's not bad.
Like, I think
Toffoli's a better player. Like,
yes,
I think Toffoli 2-way and he's got better hands. But
and
like Mantha
played with Louis Pedersen,
and but Mantha's like, don't get me wrong, Mantha's a good player. And does
absolutely
a lot of things well.
Yeah, I do think that is the comparable cost. Like when you're looking at what it would take to get Jake Gensel to Vancouver, you're looking at a totally different stratosphere.
Well, yeah, because they're different caliber of player, different quality of player, and I mean, counterbalanced by that price point. I think that's the only thing in all of this. Like I said, that the Gensel price point, like trying to get, if you can, the amount of retention you have to go for, and of course the Canucks would require help to get him as things stand, unless somehow they're able to flip, Ilya Mikheyev or somebody else. I mean, that's why there was all this noise about maybe the Lindholm move. But again, like I said, I look at where our discussion was, my discussion with Rutherford this morning, and to me, I see him talk about the centers that they have. They don't know about Lindholm beyond the season, but right now, for a team that's going to the playoffs, like they're feeling pretty strong about having him as their third center. And I think it was Dollywell basically saying, like, I don't think he fits as a winger. The Canucks don't think that, and I think that's the conclusion I've arrived at too. You look at the list, you put Blueger as number 4, like they like that part of the lineup. They do want to find number 6, top 6 winger. We know that, but that's gonna be hard.
I keep thinking about P.S. Suter because like that's a guy. Sorry,
what about him?
Well, I mean, he's a center and he's not playing center.
Yeah, but
you didn't give up.
But he's pretty good as a winger. Like of the guys they have, he's shown to be like a very capable winger.
I think he's been a good steadying force on some lines, but I like him more in the bottom 6 than I do the top 6.
Sure.
So like,
yeah, in an ideal world, you're upgrading over him and you're putting him as onto. I mean, realistically, maybe he ends up on your 4th line. But like, I get what you're saying. But here we are.
The 4th line's just been so abysmal that I'm looking at it and saying like,
yeah.
If you can have the luxury of P.S. Suter on your 4th line, like your 4th line becomes really good again. Yeah. Just like it was when Nils Höglander was on it. Frank Cervelli is going to join us in a matter of moments. I'm trying to make sure that we don't miss anything. Okay, I just got a text from Frank. He says he's going to be a few minutes late. So let's talk about your call with Jim Rutherford today. Obviously, you gave an update on Vasily Podkolzin, who was sent down to the AHL this morning. A paper transaction.
Paperwork, yeah. They definitely, basically said, listen, we wanted to see Baines. Originally, I asked Jim a month ago, said, what's going to happen? What's your thing with Podkolzin? He said, I think probably playoffs. And so seeing him come up was a bit of a surprise, but what clearly has become here, they had a window of opportunity with Joshua being hurt. They needed to try some other wingers out. They wanted to see what they had in Baines. They wanted to see what they had in Podkolzin. They seem pretty comfortable with both. They know that both are going to be options, certainly coming back up for the playoffs. But they feel good about that. I think the overall feeling was Podkolzin did a really good job. And at this point, it's really about sort of shaking out what your ideal roster is going to be, keep everybody playing, obviously winning and fighting position for the Stanley Cup playoffs. But, they have to think a little, they want to keep their AHL squad happy. Like that, this is an organizational thing, right? Like you don't treat your AHL team as a dumping ground.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's part of what's going on here is it's a chance to basically reward some of those guys and then also give them a chance to keep playing, because there are guys on that team that even if they're not going to play in the AHL, like you need to be positive and give them a feeling of that they matter. Like that was something our pal Cam Charon, like last year, I think talked when he was not with the Penguins.
Yeah.
But when he would talk a lot about the Marlies and the value that the Leafs placed in their minor league organization.
Yes.
And that's definitely a philosophy that we've seen from from Rutherford and his group. Right?
Yeah.
That they brought over from Pittsburgh, that everybody in this organization matters, right? Like I go back to that conversation I had with Ryan Johnson 2 years ago, right after like maybe a month, I think it was less than a month after Bruce Boudreau had been hired, and the Abbotsford Canucks, that was the Omicron like shutdown, like everything stopped.
Yeah.
Well, and the Abbotsford had a huge breakout of their own, and they were supposed to play all these games, and obviously affected the whole organization. They brought the taxi squad back and all these things, and I remember mentioning to Ryan Johnson that I'd had this conversation with Boudreau and asked Boudreau a little bit, and he goes, I'm really worried about those guys. And he said all these things, and I said this to Ryan, and Ryan was like, that's really nice to know people are paying attention. And they're, you could sort of read between the lines from before, but that is where this organization is that everybody's part of that coherent whole. So Podkolzin, he's going to be back. They're pretty happy he played. There's potential he'll still here. I don't think he's a guy. I don't get the sense now he's a trade chip in the next couple of days. Like I think this is a player that they want, because that's the other thing. I asked Rutherford, I said, listen, that Pedersen signing last week, did that change your plan for this week at all? Like, was that an effect? And he goes, no, but it changed our long-term plan, which is they now know that it's going to be him and Miller, right? Like it's him and Miller era. They know that much. And so they have to build around that. Where can they find efficiencies? Year or two from now, they want to see Lekkerimäki in the lineup. They want to see Tom Olander in the lineup. Like those guys matter. Those guys on cheap contracts. Realistically, Podkolzin should be part of that equation because he's still on a relatively cheap contract. They obviously would love to see a player like him turn into a true star, but right now he's efficient. He's playing. They want him to play well, and he doesn't cost a lot of money.
Do the Canucks sign Phil Kessel before Friday?
I'm gonna get. I mean, it's very clear. I asked, and Jim was very careful on this one, and they've been careful about it the whole time. And from the start, it's been clear to me that this was sort of a plan C. that if they couldn't get, one or two other things done, they would do that as kind of a fail-safe. So my guess is no. I'm going to say no. I don't think it happens, but I'm prepared to be wrong.
Jason Zucker is another name that we saw thrown out there. I don't think I brought him up yet.
No.
Rick Dhaliwal and Chris Johnson both bringing up Zucker as kind of one of these fallback options. If Phil Kessel's plan C, then that second tier that I was just talking about, where the price isn't nearly as much as Jake Gensel, who you'd assume is plan A, your plan B has to be like a Tyler Toffoli or Zucker if Toffoli's not available. And that's something we're going to talk to Frank about, because the Devils still might try to sign him is what we're hearing, but I don't know what to
I almost
make
put
of this.
Toffoli in the same bracket as Gensel, just in terms of price and quality.
Do you think he'll go, and I know you're not saying that he will go for the same cost as Gensel. No, I know that's not what you're saying.
I think he's more expensive. He's clearly more expensive than I think he's more expensive than a guy like Tarasenko or a guy like Zucker.
I think he's closer, and I mean, we'll see, but I think he's closer to being in that Zucker Tarasenko range, and Tarasenko's above Zucker, I'd say. I think he's closer to being in that range than he is being in the Gensel range.
Yeah.
Well, especially on that contract too, right? Like 4.25 is pretty good value for a guy that can, 25, 30 goals.
Yeah, you got retention in there too, potentially. Like there's gonna be value in there. Okay.
That's kind of that's what I meant. Because he's not as big a cap hit as Gensel.
Fair enough. I'm curious now what Frank's going to tell us, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And the fact that he's late tells me that he might be on the phone with someone, might be on the phone with the GM. And that's the best part of and I'll plug it right now. Our daily face-off.
Is he trading you?
No, he's not allowed to do that.
No?
He tried 3 times.
Okay.
Our Daily Face-Off live show is live on Friday on the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel, but also, did you catch this? The Game TV or Game Plus network. And I know I should have this written down somewhere, but I just saw it and I got very excited. It's really cool. We're going to be streaming right on the Game Plus network, which is like on your TVs. I think that's really cool. I'm really excited to see our show on TV. I mean, I always stream it, but our show is really good. The Daily Face-Off live show, 9 a.m. Grady's got something.
Well, I was just going to say, Quads, you're going from a YouTube star to a TV star.
That's right.
I don't think we can keep your ego in check here. Like,
no, that's been evident.
Just explode.
That's been evident for years.
Goodness.
Years.
Dave, I don't know. I don't know if we get Game TV Plus at Rogers Arena, where most of us are going to be set up. So.
Oh, they do. They do.
Okay.
He'll find a way to make it happen.
Let Carl know how to get it on the screen there.
That's right.
Puts it on the Jumbotron.
Yes, live streaming. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.